just really quickly would like to add, some of the challenges that we're facing have to do with preemption in the state. And that's something that, if any one of us get there, last time we had a quote-unquote trifecta that said they were going to repeal preemption. That's something that has to be a priority if we're going to empower our city council and our mayor to do what they need to do related to housing. So, I just want to add that.
All right,
thank you.
As of now, I'm running on 3 main priorities. One is to give the city back control from the state. The state has entirely too much control, and I'm fucking tired of it.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Jackson. To make a development project happen in the city of Detroit, give business tax breaks. Those businesses turn around and hire people for those jobs, put property level wages instead of a living wage. And since we're paying to give ourselves jobs that aren't enough to survive on, laws like the Death Star bill prevent cities like Detroit from raising wages at private business and any cities, these businesses and these buildings they operate. And receiving massive tax breaks for those jobs to exist. What is your position on the Death Star bill and state promotion of local labor laws that prevent Detroit from ensuring good jobs?
I believe that number one, we've got to figure out how to get back to the grassroots of unions and the people working together. When I looked at the Labor Day parade last year, you would almost assume it wasn't but 10 black folk in the whole city. The unity of all of us together has got to become another building block. Let us not think that the racism is not on the inside. I close with this. I can show you the receipts of the pictures. 98% of the Labor Day parade was white people in a 80% black or 70% black city. It is ridiculous that we think that this is going to happen because we go in all these secret rooms. Can we please unify back with the people? Until we get back to collective working together, we're gonna all be fighting to figure out how we get our side heard. Thank you. I'm gonna give you 10 minutes back. Take a second back.
I would support repealing preemption, right? We gotta get rid of the Death Star bill, so we can give our municipalities their powers back, right? And that's first and foremost. I firmly believe in increasing wages. Like this conversation about affordability, there's only so much you can squeeze out of a penny. Money only gonna go so far if we know that inflation is a real thing. We have to stop putting it on our citizens to quote unquote be more responsible, work more jobs. We have an underemployment issue in this country. So to answer the question wholly, we have to fight and advocate for raising wages. Full stop.
You know, I believe in fair wages, and I believe that businesses who get tax credits from the city, those tax incentives should be repealed if the wages are not fair. And not only just fair wages, but ethical labor practices. So making sure that they don't have to work in hot weather if they're construction workers, or making sure that they don't have to work extremely long hours and unhealthy hours and in unhealthy working environments. Municipalities should be able to determine what those agreements should look like with developers.
So I believe that in local control for our communities, as we talk about preemption laws that have limited the city's ability to set higher wage standards, I also think that we need to look at workforce protections or workplace protections, scheduling protections, and worker safety. I think that the government, the state government, needs to make sure that operating agreements between these developers and businesses that are trying to do projects in our municipalities have the community first. I think that the livable wage standards that our cities, like the city of Detroit, represent should be adhered to, and with involvement from the community.
Right, when we start talking about what's going on, what the real issue with preemption is, it doesn't allow you to negotiate on the things that matter to you. Mandatory overtime, the type of work that you're going to do, when you're going to get a shift, how long that shift is going to last. You should be able to negotiate all the things that determine whether or not you're going to work, how long you show up, and what you get paid for that. Right? Look, that is what it means to be in a union. That is what it means to have power over your own self and agency. And as a state senator, I'm really committed to doing the work necessary make sure you have those same rights again, because you deserve them.
And I stand with SEIU around repealing the Death Star bill. I know that very recently we've seen, if I can just be transparent and honest, a betrayal to Michigan labor force. We've seen a betrayal to working families with the veto of a number of bills at the state level very recently.
Run up as part of the union families is what drove me to become an economist. What I mean by that is the way that they have these incentive structured is completely wrong. How many people here get paid in advance and then you come to work? Does anybody here do that? Why are we paying them in advance? There's no reason to do that. If you get a tax incentive from the federal government, what happens? After you apply, after you have to file your taxes, you have to demonstrate, I've done all of these things, I gave this much money to a 501c3, and then you get the tax incentive. There's no question about having to claw back anything because we should not be giving the money in the first place ahead of schedule. First you make the jobs, first you show that you've done something critical in our neighborhoods, and then we will give you a tax incentive afterwards. That's how it works.
I absolutely oppose the Death Star, so I will stand with you all.
My name is Linda, and I work at the McNair Airport. To make a development project happen in the city of Detroit is giving businesses tax breaks. Those businesses turn around and hire people for those jobs, but pay property wages instead of a living wage. In essence, we're paying to give ourselves jobs that aren't enough to survive on. Laws like the Death Star bill prevent cities like Detroit from raising wages at private businesses in the city. Even if those businesses and buildings they operate and receive massive tax breaks, sorry, for those jobs to exist. What is your position on the Death Star and state preemption of local labor laws that prevents Detroit from ensuring good jobs?
They could have repealed the Death Star bill. They didn't. They could have repealed the rent pre-exemption bill to make it so that Detroiters have a chance to choose whether we want rents to be capped or not. Right now, we can't do it. We can only do it in Lansing if that law gets passed. We could have decided to repeal the emergency manager law in our state. Those are all low-hanging fruit for the city of Detroit that didn't get passed, even though the former Speaker of the House was from this district. And I think that's a shame. You elect me to Lansing, we will get those things across the door.
It's not the only preemption. I think, Tony, you were talking about other preemptions as well. In general, those preemptions just take away control from local government in a way that is really unfortunate. So yeah, Detroit should be able to make decisions about labor relations in the city. Detroit should be able to make decisions about rent in the city, and Detroit should be able to make decisions about taxation in the city on its own without being cut off from all possible pathways by the state government. Thank you.
Obviously, this is a crazy situation. What I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do directly, I'm going to fight for the repeal of the Death Star bill, otherwise known as preemption. We're going to ensure that we are killing that. We're going to ensure that localities are given the rights that they need to ensure that our workers can continue to collective bargain, ensuring that you guys have better rights to safer workplaces, ensuring that you have better rights as it relates to higher wages. Right now, it's as if politicians in Lansing are making the rules of the folks in the city of Detroit, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Think of it this way, as if your neighbor across the street telling you what you need to be doing in your own household. It's crazy.
I said it's time for the cities to make their own decisions and not the state. The state has held off for far too long.
So we should have been at a living wage already. And so yes, I will repeal that. And basically, I don't see anything else to do but to stand with your unions on issues like that.
I think I've been pretty clear about this. My number one issue, 1A is gun violence prevention, 1B is killing the Death Star. And this is a huge issue for me. This is the most consequential piece of legislation that we can address in the State House. There's nothing more that will make a bigger generational difference than killing the Death Star. It killed our economy, it harmed and destroyed some of our families and be able to earn a livable wage, and the fact that it strips local municipalities from local control. As a county commissioner, one of the things that I've been working on is trying to get a specific ordinance in our community for good governance, responsible contracting. However, the Death Star handcuffs us on what we can and can't do. So local communities that want something are prohibited because of state legislators. And that's absolutely immoral. Killing the Death Star is the first thing that Democrats should do. And if they don't, they need to get kicked out of office.
I actually think that we all can agree on that. I mean, repealing the Death Star. Because, again, I think everybody needs to afford to have a living wage. And that has killed a lot of that. So I 100% will repeal that legislation.
I have to agree with everyone that's up here. I think whenever we talk about preemption, and I know I kind of touched on it earlier, but when I vote for someone, if I'm voting for a city council person or a county commissioner, I'm voting for that person because they represent me. They represent what I believe needs to happen in my said district, be it the city or the county. I do not want someone from Lansing or someone from DC coming in and telling me, one, how much I can pay someone at my business. I don't want someone coming in and telling my city council person how they need to act or they need to move. When we talk about wanting to get ahead, when we talk about housing crisis, affordability, we need people in office who are going to be able to fight for that. And that can only happen if we're able to know our district and know our people. To give an example, what happens in Detroit or in Southern Warren is different than what happens up north. We have higher costs, we have higher property taxes, and we need to be able to operate independently. And that goes not only for Detroit or Southern Warren, but that also goes within our jobs and within our businesses. No one should be able to tell us how much we can pay or how